A viral clip is tearing through the internet right now, and many believe it shows the last known footage of Celeste alive at David's Maryland concert. If that really is her, it could completely reshape the investigation. She's wearing a black tube top, the exact outfit authorities say she was found in, and standing in a section of the venue typically reserved for friends and family. The resemblance is undeniable, and the location makes it even harder to dismiss. But David's lawyers are already scrambling to shut this down, insisting the girl in the video is not Celeste. That defense raises more questions than it answers. If it wasn't her, then who was this mysterious figure? And why would she be positioned in such a restricted area, so close to David's inner circle? Online sleuths are convinced the timeline doesn't lie, and if the clip is authentic, it could expose major contradictions in the official story. This is where things get messy. The footage not only casts doubt on David's public narrative, but also fuels deeper suspicions about what really happened in those final days. The investigation is filled with contradictions, conflicting reports, and unanswered questions. Every new headline seems to create more confusion than clarity, leaving fans, neighbors, and the public desperate for the truth. And that viral video is only the beginning, because the deeper you look, the stranger the story gets. The video that has the internet buzzing shows a young girl in a black tube top standing on an elevated platform at David's Maryland concert. At first glance, it might look like just another concert clip, but online investigators were quick to point out how closely the girl resembles Celeste. From the way her hair fell to her body language, the similarities are chilling. What made the footage even more explosive is that police later confirmed Celeste was wearing a black tube top when she was discovered, making the connection nearly impossible to ignore. This is where the timeline gets unsettling. The concert took place in late August, yet Celeste's body wasn't discovered until September 8th, already in a state of advanced decomposition. For many, the math just doesn't work. Could the hot summer weather have accelerated the process that quickly? Or does the video suggest something entirely different about her whereabouts in those final days? These are the questions that keep circulating, and they've left both investigators and the public scrambling for answers. David's legal team quickly fired back, insisting the girl in the footage is not Celeste. But that explanation only fueled more suspicion. If she wasn't Celeste, then who was she? And why would she be in a restricted section of the venue normally reserved for friends, family, or VIP guests? The denial didn't silence speculation, it amplified it. Online forums, TikTok threads, and YouTube breakdowns are filled with side-by-side comparisons of the girl in the video and known images of Celeste, with many convinced they're looking at the same person. For David's camp, the clip is a liability they can't afford, but for the public, it feels like a crucial puzzle piece in a case already filled with contradictions. The viral footage doesn't just raise questions, it shakes the foundation of the entire investigation. And as the internet continues to dissect every frame, the pressure builds on authorities to explain how the timeline really fits together. And while fans debated the timeline, the media started digging into Celeste's personal life, and what they found became a major part of the narrative. The moment the story gained national attention, headlines began shaping Celeste's image in a way that sparked outrage. Major outlets described her as a runaway living a double life, leaning heavily into a narrative that made her sound reckless rather than vulnerable. It was a storyline designed to grab clicks, but for many, it felt like the media was trying to excuse the circumstances of her disappearance rather than focus on the bigger picture. Digging into her past, several reports confirmed that Celeste had run away from home multiple times throughout 2024. One of her teachers recalled how police tracked her down in the Hollywood Hills and returned her home just a month later. A liquor store owner near her school remembered a day in March when Celeste's sister came in, desperately asking to review security footage, trying to retrace her movements after she vanished again. Each of these incidents paints the picture of a teenager who was struggling, but also constantly searching for freedom outside the confines of a troubled household. Adding to the complexity, sources revealed that Celeste used fake IDs to pass as someone much older. These documents allowed her to slip into clubs and adult-only spaces, places that no 14-year-old should have been able to enter. This detail shocked the public, but also explained how she was often seen at venues where her age should have raised red flags. To many, it highlighted just how vulnerable she really was. A young girl navigating adult environments without the protection she needed. But what drew the sharpest criticism wasn't her past. it was how the media framed it. Tabloids painted her as a girl who had asked for trouble, turning her struggles into headlines that sounded more like blame than reporting. Commenters across platforms were quick to call this out, arguing that troubled teens don't deserve judgment, they deserve safety, compassion, and protection. For them, the coverage was proof of a bigger problem, a culture that's too quick to vilify victims instead of demanding accountability from the people around them. And as the headlines focused on her history, detectives were already tearing apart David's home, searching for physical evidence that could connect him to her disappearance. The investigation took a dramatic turn when detectives descended on David's Hollywood Hills mansion with search warrants in hand. This wasn't just a routine check. It was a full forensic sweep. Authorities sprayed luminol across floors, sinks, and drains, searching for traces of blood that the naked eye couldn't see. They gathered fingerprints, lifted hair samples, and combed through the property for anything that might connect the home to Celeste's disappearance. The very use of luminol sent shockwaves through the public. That chemical is only used when investigators believe there may have been an attempt to clean up a crime scene. Neighbors quickly began coming forward with chilling accounts. Several said they had seen David with Celeste at the house on multiple occasions, shattering the defense narrative that she wasn't connected to his private life. One neighbor recalled casual conversations with David, even asking him about his Tesla, the same vehicle where Celeste's body would later be discovered. To these witnesses, it wasn't a mystery who was spending time at that home. They had seen it with their own eyes. The investigation didn't stop at what police found, or didn't find, inside the mansion. Reports soon emerged that David's manager, Josh Marshall, abruptly terminated the lease. Within days, movers were seen taking belongings out of the house, clearing out evidence of both men ever living there. For the public, it felt like a calculated move, almost as if David's inner circle wanted to distance themselves from the property before investigators could connect more dots. To many watching the case unfold, the mansion search revealed how deep this situation could go. Was the Hollywood Hills home simply where David lived, or was it central to Celeste's final days? The use of advanced forensic tools, combined with neighbors' eyewitness accounts, painted a disturbing picture of what might have gone on behind closed doors. And with the Tesla already raising questions, the connection between the house, the car, and Celeste's disappearance became impossible to ignore. But if the mansion raised questions, what investigators discovered about David's Tesla made everything even darker. The most chilling moment in the investigation came when Celeste's remains were discovered inside David's Tesla after it had been towed from the Hollywood Hills. Neighbors had long noticed the car sitting outside the mansion with visible damage, even questioning David about why it was never fixed. That same vehicle, once brushed off as just another flashy piece of his lifestyle, turned into the centerpiece of a horrifying discovery. The fact that Celeste's body was hidden in plain sight, inside a car tied directly to David, left the public shaken. But the story didn't stop there. Authorities revealed something even darker. A second body had been found in another Tesla connected to David, this one partially burned. Officials were quick to claim that the two cases weren't linked, yet the timing and similarities were impossible to ignore. The second victim was discovered just a day before Celeste, creating an eerie timeline that many felt was more than just coincidence. Online discussions exploded with theories, with some asking if this second victim was part of a broader pattern authorities weren't ready to admit. The question that continues to haunt the public is why this second victim hasn't received more attention. Reports suggest someone may have gone to great lengths to cover their tracks, attempting to destroy evidence by setting the body on fire. To many observers, it feels like a crucial piece of the puzzle is being overlooked, or deliberately pushed aside. With 2 young lives lost and 2 cars tied back to the same artist, the Tesla connection turned this investigation from disturbing to terrifying. And just as the investigation intensified, private messages leaked, exposing a disturbing side to David that no one could ignore. If the concert footage and the Tesla discovery weren't disturbing enough, the leaked private messages sent shockwaves through the internet. Screenshots allegedly showed David directly messaging underage girls as far back as 2023, and the content was impossible to dismiss. These weren't vague conversations that could be brushed off as rumors. The texts openly referenced the fact that one girl was still in high school. In his own words, David acknowledged the age gap, telling her he would gladly wait until she finished school. For fans who had long defended him, this was the kind of evidence that cut straight through denial. The revelations became even more damning when one of David's former friends stepped forward, claiming to have more screenshots and stating they were cooperating with authorities. That detail gave the leaks more credibility and raised the stakes for the investigation. Suddenly, the case wasn't just about speculation or internet theories. It had receipts that prosecutors could potentially use. The leaked texts painted a picture of secrecy, control, and grooming, with David allegedly telling the girl their relationship would have to remain hidden until she was older. The internet's response was swift and furious. Fans who once insisted on his innocence began turning against him, describing the behavior as predatory, manipulative, and calculated. Social media feeds filled with outrage, with many questioning how such messages could ever be explained away. What was once a case clouded by speculation now had something solid, proof that David knew exactly how young some of these girls were. And for many, that made it nearly impossible to separate his image as an artist from the allegations that threatened to end his career. But even as these messages spread, David still had defenders in his corner, and their loyalty revealed how divided public opinion had become. As the case against David gained traction, a surprising group stepped in to defend him, his own friends. Clips began circulating of his streamer buddies openly brushing off the accusations. One insisted, "He literally performed the next day. If he was guilty, police would have arrested him already." Others pointed to his tour schedule as proof that he couldn't possibly have been involved. Their tone, however, came across as dismissive and tone-deaf, leaving many viewers outraged. For those following the case closely, this kind of blind loyalty felt less like defense and more like denial. The public backlash to these defenses was immediate. Viewers flooded comment sections, arguing that simply being on stage doesn't erase the possibility of guilt, nor does a busy tour schedule protect someone from investigation. For many, these excuses revealed just how deeply celebrity culture can warp judgment. Friends who had partied alongside David seemed unwilling to acknowledge the growing pile of evidence, and their loyalty highlighted the divide between insiders and the fans who once idolized him. Meanwhile, the business world reacted very differently. Major corporate partners wasted no time severing ties. Crocs and Hollister both dropped David, moves that were seen as bold but also telling. Companies rarely walk away from lucrative partnerships without serious consideration, and their decisions fueled speculation that insiders might know more than the public. Some argued that this was just brand self-preservation, while others believed it was a quiet sign that the allegations were too serious to ignore. The split between friends defending David and brands cutting ties revealed the stark reality of his situation. On one side were the people closest to him, insisting on his innocence despite mounting evidence. On the other were billion-dollar corporations, choosing to distance themselves rather than risk being associated with scandal. For the public, the contrast only deepened the question. Was this a case of innocent until proven guilty, or a warning sign that the truth was darker than anyone wanted to admit? And while companies cut ties, something unexpected happened to his career numbers. His music started climbing higher than ever. As shocking headlines dominated the news cycle, something unexpected happened. David's music exploded in popularity. Billboard reported record-breaking jumps on Spotify streams, with his tracks climbing higher on the charts than ever before. What should have been the downfall of his career instead fueled curiosity, as millions of new listeners pressed play to see what all the controversy was about. Ironically, the scandal threatening to end his freedom was the same force propelling his fame. For industry watchers, the surge in numbers was a grim reminder of how scandal and success often go hand in hand. The public's obsession with true crime blended with celebrity culture, turning David into a figure people couldn't look away from. Some fans boycotted him completely, disgusted by the allegations, while others doubled down in their support, insisting on his innocence until proven guilty. The result was a divided fan base, with one side calling for accountability and the other still streaming his songs in record numbers. Money quickly became a key factor in how this story unfolded. David's estimated net worth, around $6 million, gave him the resources to hire powerhouse attorney Blair Burke, a lawyer known for defending celebrities in some of Hollywood's most high-profile cases. Her involvement sent a clear signal. David wasn't planning to back down, and he had the financial means to fight aggressively. For critics, this raised a disturbing question. Would money and influence allow him to escape the kind of consequences an ordinary person would face? The combination of skyrocketing fame and elite legal protection only deepened the public's unease. Every stream, every chart climb, every headline seemed to highlight the uncomfortable truth. Controversy can be profitable. While Celeste's family and supporters grieved, David's career was, paradoxically, stronger than ever. To many, it felt like a cruel twist. Proof that fame and fortune don't just shield celebrities from scandal, they can actually turn it into fuel. And yet, with all this chaos swirling, one question remained unanswered. Where does the investigation actually stand today? Right now, the investigation feels like it's at a standstill, and that silence is only fueling speculation. The LAPD chief confirmed that significant resources are dedicated to the case, but he refused to share details, citing the sensitivity of the ongoing investigation. Celeste's body has already been returned to her family for a memorial service, which strongly suggests that the autopsy has been completed. Yet, despite weeks of mounting headlines and swirling evidence, no arrest has been made. For many following the case, the lack of movement feels unsettling, almost as if justice is being delayed. Meanwhile, David continues to live his public life. He's still touring, performing for sold-out crowds, and even gaining more streams as the controversy keeps his name in the spotlight. Each performance sparks fresh anger online, with critics asking how someone under this level of suspicion can continue business as usual. For supporters, his freedom is proof that he's innocent. For skeptics, it's a painful reminder of how celebrities often operate under a completely different set of rules. For Celeste's family and supporters, the silence from authorities is heartbreaking. They see a familiar and troubling pattern: young lives cut short while powerful figures walk away untouched. To them, the lack of immediate accountability feels less like due process and more like protection, the kind that only fame, wealth, and influence can buy. Every day without answers deepens the sense of injustice, making the public more determined to keep pressure on investigators. No matter what happens next, this case has already exposed the cracks in the system. It's shown how quickly narratives can be spun, how easily the victim can be blamed, and how scandals involving celebrities often linger in limbo. Whether David faces charges or not, the story of Celeste has become a symbol of something larger, a reminder that when it comes to Hollywood scandals, the truth is rarely straightforward, and justice is never guaranteed. Celeste's story is more than just another headline. It's a tragedy that has shaken the internet and raised difficult questions about justice, celebrity privilege, and accountability. From the viral concert footage to the disturbing leaked messages, every new detail adds another layer of complexity to a case that refuses to fade from public attention. For many, it feels like the investigation has already revealed the darker side of fame, where power and influence can blur the line between truth and cover-up. What makes this case even harder to process is the silence. Despite the evidence, the witness accounts, and the corporate backlash, David continues to tour and thrive in the spotlight. To some, it's proof that he's innocent. To others, it's yet another example of how fame shields stars from facing the same consequences an ordinary person would. And while the public debates, Celeste's family and supporters are left grieving, demanding answers, and wondering if real justice will ever be served. So now the question is, where does this story go from here? Will David finally face charges, or will this scandal fade away like so many others before it, buried under distractions and legal maneuvering? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because this case is far from over, and the conversation is only just beginning. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. And don't forget to drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments. It helps the channel grow and lets me know what stories you want covered next.